What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Two Gents Fireside Chat. We got greatness in the building once again. My brothers from the mighty F-Spot Records are pulling up. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off when they join. My brother Chris Lujan in the building. I see DJ Gurry in the building. David Silla's in the building. Shout out to my brother, the Angry Korean. I appreciate you, my man. Mike Duffy's in the building. Dave, how we doing?
Don, what's up, man?
Super great to meet you. Hold on one sec.
Cool. Nice tunes.
Yeah. That was the one for me. I love that record.
There we go. Right on.
Yeah. There he is.
One of them.
Got the shades on. The aviators.
Nah, got the blue light shades. So when I'm looking at the screen, I don't burn out my eyes.
I feel it. How you guys doing?
Good.
Man. What's up, Duffy?
What's up, buddy?
Awesome. Awesome. All right.
Hey, something to note really quick. Dave is in the studio. He's in the studio. He's in the studio.
Where I live.
Okay.
Spend
Okay.
my days.
Very cool. I want to appreciate everybody who's joined on the line. We'll go ahead and kick things off. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Good,
Very
man.
cool. I want to welcome everybody to Two Gents Fireside Chats. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews. However, we do some research because we don't want to ask our guests the same questions over and over again. But more importantly, we want to support and strengthen existing interviews and articles that are out there. We've got about 9 questions plus the lightning round. I'm thinking about 35 minutes before we close it out. Our guests need absolutely no introduction. The gentleman in the lower left-hand corner is the founder of F-Spot Records, composer, producer, multi-instrumentalist, mix engineer, and 1/4 of the Bombillas. Welcome, David M. Silla. The other gentleman in the opposite corner, a Waxvillain alum. He's been on Two Gents Fireside Chat before. He's one of my favorite drummers on the scene. He is a skilled veteran in drums and percussion, a staple on the California music scene, from Azumatle to Jungle Fire to the Bombillas, the White Blinds. You've heard his music. Welcome, Mike Duffy.
Hey.
So, gents, we'll go ahead and kick things off. I see we got some new people on the line. I'd love it if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everybody where you're from and your role with F-Spot Records.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first, I guess. David Silla. Originally hail from the state of New Hampshire, back east. It's where I spent most of my time, but I've been living in Los Angeles for 12 years now. Moved here after school. And F-Spot Records is my little baby. I guess I'm the head honcho, person to talk to, all the above. If you email me, you contact me. If you get a record, it comes from this room right here. And yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
Well, my name is Michael Duffy, born and raised in the city of Los Angeles, currently residing in the city of Long Beach.
LBC.
And, as you've already announced, I played with a bunch of people. I've done, I think pretty much all you can pretty much do as far as a sideman. And then about, I think it's coming on 10 years ago, I decided to put the sideman thing away and go start a band. And that first band I started was Jungle Fire.
Okay.
And then from there, I built the White Blinds. That's how I met David. And together, we, with Tyler and Josh, we kind of restructured the Bombillas. So that's me in a nutshell.
Very cool. Thank you. I want to go ahead and start things off with Dave. Talk to us about the origin of F-Spot Records. I'd love to kind of know what was going on in your life before you started it. And most importantly, tell me what makes F-Spot F-Spot.
Sure, yeah. So it's kind of a crazy idea starting a record label, I guess. I was thinking about this. It was probably 2013, 2014. I was living with a bandmate of mine. And I've been recording and producing my whole life, from a child. I owe it to my dad. who used to be a recording engineer. So growing up with the studio in the house, you know, I was the kid in high school at 14. My friends, we would spend all weekend in the studio just making weird sounds and, you know, doing things we shouldn't have been doing late at night and then hitting the studio. But it was all good growth. And I went to school for music, and music's just been my whole life. So when I found myself living in this apartment on Fredonia Drive, we used to dub it the F spot. I had a friend, Cassidy, who every place was like the spot to him. It was like, oh man, what's your spot? Oh, it's a cool spot. It's a great spot. And so Fredonia Drive, and I think my roommate and I were just like, this is the F spot. And we had rehearsal there, and we would record there. So yeah, about 2013, 2014, you know, I've been recording a bunch, but then I started getting into kind of analog recording more. I bought my first tape machine around then. And we started doing some recordings, and, you know, they kind of had a vibe, you know, it's kind of just learning as I went along. I've been trained in the digital world, so kind of messing with analog gear really kind of took a whole new life to what I was doing, and kind of getting a grittier sound. And I was like, I dig this. This is what I like. And so, yeah, we had some recordings and didn't know what to do with them. You know, we talked about shopping them around, you know, going down that route as every band or artist does, like pitching them to people, probably getting rejected, probably not hearing back, just calling email people. And, you know, me, I've always been sort of an entrepreneur. I was like, I don't want to do that. It's not my vibe. I've always been into vinyl, you know, ever since, middle school, high school, I was buying records. I think I was just kind of catching on around that point. I think I discovered Coal Mine around then, Daptone, saw what they were doing, and I was like, hell, let's make our own vinyl.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna press these, you know. I think at the time, I just Google searched pressing plants, found Gotta Groove Records, which a lot of people know. And at the time, you could still get kind of 300 records for under $1,000.
Wow.
Which you can't really do these days, but I was like, easy, done. Credit card, got it. Max my limit out. So I pressed, I think I had two songs, one from the In Project thing that my roommate and I did, and then Beat Mosaic was another project we were involved in. So I pressed those two, and then I wanted to have a third to kind of launch the label. So I made this weird one, Domestic Bear, sort of roots reggae. Not many people probably know it. It's okay, but, you know, I did it in a weekend in my bedroom in the F spot, just to a Fostex 8-track machine. And so with those three, I just kind of took the plunge and was like, here we go. You know, I'm going to see if I make my money back. Cool. I don't know. But I slowly did. You know, when they arrived, I was like, okay, now I got to sell them. What do I do?
Wow.
So I sent them to Fat Beats. Remember just putting them in the mail, finding their address online. And then within a day, the dude emailed me and was just like, we want these. Let's get them in distro. And I was like, cool, game on. Here we go.
Wow. What is involved with kind of like, you know, connecting with a store like Fat Beats and distribution? How does that all work out?
Yeah, so as you know, I don't really know for most people. I think the fact that I had these kind of funk soul 45s, I don't know, I just mailed them to him, and he was like, cool, let's get them. I think they took 100 at first.
Okay.
And then we set a release date. I think I had them out on Bandcamp already and maybe my own site, but we kind of did a re-release of those 345s to kind of get them out officially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there any like aha or woke moments? I read that, you know, a lot of this was figuring stuff out on your own. Was there kind of like a breakthrough moment that you really remember that stands out?
In terms of recording or in terms of the record label?
The label.
Yeah. It's been a slow learning process. I think
Okay.
every release I have a new aha moment of something new to do, some new way to approach it. I think the first aha moment was when I first got the records and I was like, all right, now I need to focus on selling these.
Yeah.
I need to try to be a businessman.
Right.
My idea of having my music on vinyl for the first time, that's done. Now what do I do?
Sure.
So setting up the account, making it a legit business with the city, start having them taking my taxes and doing all that stuff.
Right.
I guess that was the first aha moment to kind of be like, all right, let's do this. Let's
Very
dive full in.
Okay. All right. Mr. Duffy,
Yes,
White
sir.
Lines have a new 45 out.
Yes, we do.
Now, I know this is kind of closure to the Maj series. I'm hoping you can kind of talk to us a little bit about this record. It's a double A-sider. We got Fire Eater and Shimmy Sham. Walk us through the process.
So in this, for the folks that are watching, so this three-part series, we play the A side usually is a cover, and the B side is an original, kind of in the same vein as the cover.
Okay.
With this one, David really felt that the cover was actually the heater, and threw that on the A side. And it's, I
Original.
didn't plan it. Yeah, I didn't plan it to be that way. But it's worked out that way. And, I have a big amount of trust with David in these moments when it comes to like how we're going to present the material. So the A side is a tune called Shimmy Sham. If you're a B-boy, you're going to love it. You know what I mean? If you're anything close to a B-boy, that is a new anthem for you. Clear vinyl, looks beautiful. And then so on the flip, we have a tune by Rusty Bryant, the great Rusty Bryant, called Fire Eater. And the reason why I covered this tune is one of my favorite drummers is Idris Muhammad, and
Yes.
he took a drum solo on this. I did it my own way, but I've just always loved the tune, and as we've talked before when I've been on here, Idris is probably top 5 for me as far as drummers I listen to
Mm-hmm.
and still listen to, even though he's no longer with us. He's kind of always in rotation in my playlist daily. So we put a button on this thing. I'm super stoked on it. I think we put the right button on it.
Mm-hmm.
We started out, with Sing a Simple Song and Clap Back, and I think that was a good starter. And Dave had good vision
Yeah.
to put that as the thing to kind of kick things off to Muddy Water and Brown Bag, the great Ivan Boogaloo, Joe Jones tune, Brown Bag, which is a nice middle, and I feel like this kind of just wraps it all up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I got to tell you something. The first thing I remember seeing with the releases was the little, 30-second commercial. But it wasn't until I put the 45 on the table and I heard the drum break. I love Idris Muhammad, and that was what I thought of when I heard that. But I was stuck on Stupid, and I kept playing it over again because you just turned it up a notch with this one, and I think that's a fantastic track. And, you did great with kind of paying homage to him and in your own flavor.
Definitely with the with the cover with Fire Eater, we took it slower.
Mm-hmm.
Dave and I talked about that and make it a little bit more grungier and let
Mm-hmm.
Matt kind of be more of a blues man and less of a jazzer on this one. But really where the gears start shifting is Carey. Carey's organ solo is just,
Yeah.
it's probably one of his best, I think, is in the series.
Wow.
It's between that and Sing a Simple Song, what he did on those 2 tracks. But he just really set it in motion so that when I come in, I have a launching point. And I feel like his solo, then I launch into it, and then how we get back into it, we almost it's almost like an anticlimactic thing. I build it up, and then we break it really down to the point where I stop playing for like a beat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we kind of kick back in with the tune. And I think it's, we did the 3 of us did a lovely arrangement of that tune. I'm really proud of how we all came together to make that tune happen, and with David's guidance on top of that.
Very cool. Now, I got to ask the question. Dave, you said you love vinyl. Mike, I know you love vinyl. I love vinyl. How do we choose Crystal Clear?
That's all David.
Yeah, that just seemed like the best. We talked about doing a red label, and
Love the label. Love the label. colors.
I do all the designing, and I just kind of take the label and put it up against different color vinyl and just see what vibes right.
Very cool.
I got to add this. I got to add on all the art direction, like at least 50 to 75% is David. I definitely, for me as an artist, I've got so much in my head that I don't need to be worried about too many other things. So I have a trust with David. He'll float it my way and kind of get my opinion. But, you know, like with all this homage stuff, it's pretty much, you know, David's vision for how we'll go forward.
I love the 45s in the series, especially the cocaine white one with the footprints on it. I love that. That was
Get to Stepman. What do we do? We need some footprints in there.
We need some footprints.
Hit Google.
So, Mike, last time you were here, we talked about this bad boy, Get to Steppin'.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago, you and I were on the phone, and you told me that you are 50% done with the follow-up Blinds album. What can you tell us about that? What can we expect? Compare and contrast. I'm stoked, but I need more.
Well, the room that David's sitting in is where we cut 7 of 11 tracks so far.
Okay.
And I feel like this record is you know, it's getting more of a songwriter's perspective for instrumental music. There's solos on it, but not as much as the first record.
Okay.
And we definitely have some really great, I guess, cleaning the house or driving the car tunes.
Okay.
And you know, David and I in this one spent a good majority of time, probably over a span of 3 months, cobbling together my way of writing and sitting in a room together and kind of hashing it out. And it was a really great moment for me because it elevated us, not only our friendship as people, but our friendship musically. And so I felt in pairing with David to write this record, it leveled me up as a drummer and it leveled up my composition because I had someone to really bounce that I could trust in those vulnerable moments when I wasn't really sure. I was kind of just waxing off stuff. And, you know, I would say, hey, play this. And, you know, because David is a multi-instrumentalist, I mean, he plays guitar, he plays some organ, so we can kind of get the bones of it nice and solid. And for me, doing it, he and I together all in the same room, I could finally, you know, hear the tune almost fully realized before I brought in Carrie and Matt, you know. So it just elevated everything. We took some different influences on this one. I took some more jazz influence type stuff, more like New Orleans street beat jazz type stuff.
Okay.
We've got some. We got this classic White Blind stuff, like what I call like the one hand 16th note funk stuff. We've got some New Orleans-y stuff. We got some Jamaican stuff.
Oh wow.
So one of my best friends is the drummer for the Night Owls, Blake Coley. Yeah. And so we've been talking since I started the White Blinds on how we could put Jamaican music in an organ trio. Currently, the only organ trio that does it is a group out of the East Coast called the Organically Good Organ Trio. And they do more of a modern reggae thing. Okay. I'm kind of taking it back to like 70s, late 60s, early 70s, Jackie Me Too, a lot of the Studio One stuff. So David and I kind of, with some Blake influence, kind of put together a couple tunes for the record. So I feel like as I talked with Get to Steppin', it's a full menu. You know, it's got an entree course, it's got a main course, and it's got a dessert course. And I think it goes down real smooth. We're still working on the title. We're still working on the artwork, but the music is I'm pretty pumped. I'm pretty awesome. Pumped. You know, and it's hard when you're doing record number 2 is hard. You know what I mean? Record 1's easy because you're super excited. Yeah. Record number 2 is hard because you know what's expected of you, and you have to make sure you live up to those expectations.
That is tough. I always think about that with follow-ups, and you know, more than lately, you know, you'll see the first one always stand out more. The second one never kind of meets that bar.
Well, you know, I went through that with Jungle Fire as well, and I feel like our second record, Jambu, is almost like I'll equate it to Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys. Not saying we're on that level, but that idea of it might be something that it takes 10 years for people to digest and kind of fall into. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case with this record because it's not out yet, and we haven't gone through the painstaking process of mixing it and listening to it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And David and I exchanging emails and texts and talking on the phone. So when we get to that point, I'll have that, I'll have that moment.
Very cool. Now, Dave, I got to ask, can we expect a color variant with this LP, or are we going to go OG black?
We'll do a color.
Love that. That. Okay. Now, you guys already spend a lot of time together, but when the Bombillas were formed, I'm sure you even spent more time together. Talk to us about kind of refining your sonic sound to deliver a better listening experience and kind of what you've learned about each other.
Yeah, so touching base on the Bombillas, that was a project kind of that I started. I just left a band at the time, and I was like, fuck bands, I need to do my own thing, take control, and just write tunes I want to write and have my say on it. So that first 45, Tortuga Kings Up, was sort of when I produced. I played drums and keyboard on it, and then had Lido from Mestizo Beat on guitar, and my friend Donovan on bass, and Josh Wiener, who plays bass now in the Bombillas. We recorded at his studio, and he recorded it, engineered it. And then I had friends. I was still in the mindset then of, loving horns and kind of going the more, Afrobeat centric way. So I had some horns on that one. So then, forming the relationship with Michael, we talked about, well, what do we want to do with the Bombillas? It was kind of a thing. I was working on some other stuff with it, just demoing some tunes. And Michael said, well, why don't you play keyboards and I'll play drums? Pretty much in a nutshell. Talking yourself.
Well, here's the thing. David plays keyboards, right? But he wasn't a keyboard player.
Yeah, I've been a drummer my whole life. I played keyboards my whole life too, but drums is really my main thing. And it's maybe why we get along so well, Duffy and I, is, we can relate on the drumming level. And when we talk drums, we know. And when we hear drums and the drum sound we like, we instantly connect. So that definitely helps. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it a band. Let's get some other people involved. I was working on some demos at the time that I was trying to play everything, and I could do that to like some degree, but just the character you get with different people's personalities in a recording, that's the magic there.
Sure.
It doesn't have the same vibe when it's all one person. You just get locked into the same groove, but having everyone's influence. So we started piecing it together. We brought in some friends and Josh on bass, and met Tyler through some mutual friends on the guitar. We decided to ditch the horns, really dive in more to the North African funk, I guess. Killer. Which is, people that know me, like, that's like world music, funk, jazz. That's kind of my vibe. And this sonic just took from there. I just wanted to make it trippy. I love delays and echoes, and just kind of went crazy with it.
It was definitely a genre-bending album for me. I often talk about blaxploitation sounds, 60s, 70s, and that was something I felt, but I just loved the concept of taking it global. Bringing in a little bit more flavor, instruments that we hadn't heard before, and that was what really stood out to me. And so this was one of my favorite, maybe concept word isn't the right way, but it was theme-based, and I thought it was one of the better albums put out last year, especially in that category.
Well, thank you, yeah. That's definitely.
Well, think about this. Everybody was funky when James Brown came out, right?
Yeah.
But we hear it now. Like, Turkey was funky because they listened to James Brown.
Yeah.
Algiers was funky. Like, everywhere in the world, once James Brown came out, was funky. And so when we started the Bombillas, that was definitely one of the things that I brought to Dave's attention is how American funk music kind of took over. Let's say everywhere from Tehran to Turkey to Ethiopia, everywhere in between. And what could we do? And I felt like our biggest contribution to that was bringing in Tyler Nuffer and having him play lap steel guitar.
Yeah.
But making him play lap steel guitar, and this is, I think, the thing I always bring chaos a little bit, because I go, well, here's this crazy Cora track, right? And that has nothing to do with its steel. Can you play that part on your steel? It may make no sense, but to me, I believe anything's possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I'm on a rhythm bass all the time. David can attest to that. I'm singing rhythm, I'm singing parts, but it's not really melodic. It's more like, hey, can you try this? Can you try that? And usually David will step in and kind of, okay, let's put it all together and let's, you know, put this kind of this soup and make it make sense. You know what I mean?
Great with
but that was
when
yeah.
lap steel taking that sort of Arabic singing style and getting all the microtonal bends and getting real lyrical with it. I think it definitely, when we first started doing that kind of stuff, we're like, yes, more of that.
That was the X factor.
There's more of that coming.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, that's exciting. So with the project like this, was there a framework, or was it pretty much just kind of free, let's see where it takes us, and constantly kind of refine and shape and mold?
I'll say this. We spent a year playing music together before we recorded the record.
Okay.
We got together every Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
We sat in that studio that Dave's in right now, and we just played. And we just learned how to play with each other. And we all grew together from that experience. I think that's the most important thing I take away from the friendship with the Bombillas, both personally and musically, is that we built it.
Yeah.
Every Thursday night, we were always there. We showed up. I think we maybe missed one or two, but we were always there, and we were always listening. And then I remember ending a rehearsal and going, "Okay, guys, I think we've played long enough. Let's start doing something. Let's put a date on something to record the first songs." And we all agreed on a date, and that's when the 45 was born.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll let Dave take it from there.
Yeah, a lot of that was built organically, learning how to play with each other. I think too, a lot of the songs were formed. I would have some demos in mind, like a drum groove.
Okay.
I remember even when we first started, I think I printed out a sheet of a bunch of kind of Ethiopian, African drum grooves that I kind of wrote down for Duffy to just shed on and kind of get comfortable with, because it's sort of a different feeling. So a lot of them kind of started with some demos, just kind of like a MIDI line, you know, and have the computer and like a MIDI drum groove, and then we just take it from there. And a lot of people, just had the input on jamming together.
Were there records that influenced this that you kind of kept listening to maybe while you were going through the process of recording and so on like that?
Sure. I got really into Helu Mergia.
Yes.
You know.
Great.
As everyone is now. Classic.
For real.
So that was definitely a big influence, kind of getting into sort of this Ethiopian funk kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But besides that too, I'm just influenced by a bunch of weird stuff.
Sure.
It's just kind of a hodgepodge. I don't know. It's not Afrobeat. It's not Fela Kuti, but you know, Fela Kuti is my number one, and like, you know, all that stuff. Kind of took modern people like Krungbin and kind of seeing what they're doing.
Love Krungbin, yeah. They're great. Talk to me about the artwork, because you did this, and I also saw it looked like someone else was a part of this too, creating the artwork.
So that cover, that I just drew that one day on the computer.
Oh,
like this week. I think the album was finished or close to finished, and I was like, all right, we need a cover. We talked about kind of our love for sort of shapes and kind of texture and sort of, I don't know what kind of art you call that. And I just went to town and sat at the computer and did that. We had a vision of it being sort of a collage cutout thing. And I actually did make a collage cutout of it with some colored paper. But it kind of looked like a 4-year-old made it. And so I ditched that idea and kept it on the computer. And then my wife, who is a graphic designer, helped finesse it a little, and she helped kind of with the back cover a little. And the White Blinds cover too. She helped do that. She's
always in the mix, my friend. She's in the mix.
I love the White Blinds cover. I love that. I love the colors, because I like block colors too, and you know, orange is important, the blue. it fits the music and the vibe.
Sure.
So I think it's a home run. I just had to ask some questions on it. Great
Kinda like
stuff.
Sun rising.
Yeah, yeah. So guys, everyone loves a good story. You just told us you spent like every Thursday together for a year. Would you be able to share some insights, maybe a memory that stands out, something funny, something fond about recording together you'd be willing to share with us?
I would say the most important memory for me is when we all realized what Tyler could do on this lap steel by just playing him records that maybe, you know, again, it's the guitar has frets, but it's fretless, so it can bend and move. So, you know, we bring all these kind of fretless instruments from other cultures and
Right.
kind of throw it at him. And the big moment for me is when we made the cover of the Ellis Ribiani tune, and made him play the melody, and his hands were just kind of jittering all over the fretboard. You
Oh,
know what I
wow.
mean? But it sounded so cool. And I remember when we did it for the first time, we all kind of went, "What the fuck just happened?" You know, it really changed everything. It opened the door for everything.
Wow.
And with that, I'll pass that to David. He can pick up the baton on after that.
I would say that's a good one too. Yeah, kind of hearing, I guess, my idea of the Bombillas when I first started, just kind of where it evolved when actually bringing people in and having committed sort of members of the band and input from other people. It kind of took it all out of my head, and I welcome people's feedback and love their, you know, everything they bring to it, and things that I wouldn't have thought of that someone suggests. And hearing Tyler do this thing, and, you know, I'm all for it, and was instantly like, yes, okay, awesome.
That was the woke moment that really set it off, because it probably wouldn't have sounded the same without it, right?
No.
No.
Yeah. It would have just been another sort of buried rhythm guitar in the background, maybe with some horns on it.
Wow.
I will say a big moment for me too was just the relationship. I mean, David and I already had a great relationship as a record label owner, you know, mixed engineer, producer, but to be in a band with another drummer who's running the band, and we have such a great chemistry, and we're egoless, and you know, he makes suggestions to my parts. I'm like, whatever's needed, you know what I mean? And I know that makes it easier for him to compose.
Sure.
Because he doesn't have to worry about anything. You know what I mean? Like, we have such a clear understanding with one another that, hey man, if you got a part, tell me what it is. And like he told you, that, you know, he gave me this sheet of paper because I understood a little bit of the Ethio thing, but I didn't have the feel together. And I remember there was like two grooves. I know, Dave, you know what I'm talking about. I think number 7 and number 10 or something. and you know, I had to find my own way with it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I wasn't getting it. It wasn't happening. And I just removed one note one day, and it was like, he looked at me, he goes, "Okay, now you got it."
Wow.
And that became my thing. I don't play it exactly like the masters play it. I've taken one note out, and now I'm able to play it with a better feel.
Okay.
And so, you know, like Quiche has that kind of vibe. There's, you know, there's just tunes that have that vibe, and you know, it's exciting to me to be in a band led by a drummer, you know what I mean, who can kind of turn around and keep me in check, but also help me grow. And that's what you always want as a musician, is to be able to grow and push you. You know what I mean? It's different when you're the band leader. I'm the band leader of the White Blinds. I'm kind of getting things to grow. I'm watering the plants.
Right.
With the Bombillas, I'm just a drummer, right? I'm of service to the band. And now it's time for me to get watered, you know what I mean, and grow. So that's another exciting moment for me in this project.
I love that, because these types of insights let us know what's kind of beneath the tip of the iceberg, and it really kind of paints a picture into the blood, sweat, and tears that went into a project like this. And I think I even have more appreciation for it now, just kind of hearing those woke moments, some of the challenges, and how you kind of navigated around that.
Sure.
When are we going to get volume 2?
We've got some stuff cooking.
Got some stuff cooking. The pandemic definitely took its toll on us getting together for a while and working on new stuff. But this year we started getting back together every week, and we have some new tunes in the works, probably a new 45 next year.
Okay.
Maybe LP number 2.
Wow.
2023 maybe.
2023.
I'll say
Awesome.
this: we have plenty of ideas,
Plenty of ideas, yeah.
plenty of ideas, but right now there's a hot 45 brewing up, real nice,
Hmm.
I
real
love that.
nice.
I love that. Again, we got a lot of vinyl heads on the call. We're talking about music coming out. I haven't asked this question of anybody before, but I'd love it if you could kind of, give us one version of the truth, elaborate on some of the challenges that labels, musicians are facing with pressing plants.
Yeah, I've tried to get a straight answer myself, and they're always a little sideline-ish, but I can say it's kind of down to two things that I know of and maybe three things that I have speculation on. One is there is a physical shortage of, I think he said, kind of some sort of chemical or liquid that they use in the machines.
Oh, wow.
So it is related to actually physical manufacturing shortage of parts, as much of the world is. I heard shortage of pellets at one point.
Wow.
But I think they're having to really plan, how much they can do instead of just take on a bunch of orders and kind of just crank them out. They really have to plan, like, all right, this week we can only do this much because this is how much supply we have of parts.
Okay.
It's a mixture of that, and then I also think, just everyone wants vinyl now. I think people are getting swamped. Part of it too, also connected to before, is I think there's a lot of people that have, quit during the pandemic, quit their jobs.
Okay.
So I heard too, just hiring force and actual physical labor was really holding things up.
Okay.
I know Gotta Groove is hiring like 40% more people to really ramp up production in the fall.
That's huge.
And try to catch up. They're really exploding. Because they've been they're quoting people 11 months on records right now.
11 months?
Mm-hmm.
So if we called them today and we said we got a hot record, they'd say see you in a year, basically?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's maybe gotten a little better now. I think they were hoping to, subside in the fall time. But that's the reality. And
very cool.
out of our control. That's just what you have to do.
No, those are great insights to know. I'm just fearing that we're going to be streaming for months at some point. That kind of takes us to the end of the Fireside Chat. But before we end it, I'd love it if you could just let everyone know where we can shop the music, if there's any live shows coming up, and tell us a little bit about this, where we can get it, when it's available, that kind of thing.
Sure. Best place is through fspotrecords.com. If you want to get it direct from us. You can get it on our Bandcamp as well. I would suggest people, if you want to go through the website, go that way. We do send the digital as well. When the record ships, you get the digital. Cool. Maybe some people like Bandcamp, the ease of it, but they do take a cut. And also PayPal takes a cut.
Oh.
So
directly to the site.
Directly to the site. It also makes shipping fulfillment a lot easier.
Okay.
Through the website.
Direct to consumer, folks. Direct to consumer.
Direct to.
I love that.
But also, I strongly suggest people, reaching out to their local record stores, connecting with Fat Beats. We only hold a limited amount that I sell through the site. So once those are sold out, those are sold out. But there's still records available through our distribution, through stores. They're out there, and sometimes you might have to hunt a little if we're sold out on the website, but I'm sure you could find a copy. And always message me if people have trouble finding one. I'll point them to the right direction.
Very cool. Well, I want to say I highly recommend this to everybody on the line. I absolutely love it. Double A-sider, and the drum break that Mike talked about earlier is fantastic. That's the whole reason I had done that video in just that section, because I thought it was that important. But double A-sider, fspotrecords.com, crystal clear, limited edition variant right there. It's time for the lightning round. Are you guys ready?
Lightning round, yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to start with Dave first. The lightning round is designed to drive connection points. These are like short one-word answers. We want to know more about you as a person and less as a musician. So we'll go ahead and start this off with the standard question: colored vinyl or OG black?
Color or OG? I'm going to say if it's part of the package, and creates the aesthetic, I'm down with the color. 45's cool on color. If it's a jazz LP or something, black all the way. If it's meant to be black, I'm going to probably say I prefer black.
I love the circumstances.
Yeah.
I love that.
Depends the kind of music. If it's some psychedelic or some rock music, I'm all about the color, but
yeah,
jazz has to be black.
Okay. I can dig that.
I'm going to say colored for me, and you know, almost the same. I prefer like the 45s in color over the full LPs.
Okay.
My personal thing, you know, I think cool. They're small. The package, I think it pops a little bit more for me personally.
Yeah.
But I will agree with Dave. If we're talking about Blue Note, we're talking about prestige. We're talking about classic jazz. I want a really interesting label, but a black slab of wax.
I love that. I can totally dig it. All right, 45 or LP?
LP.
45.
Experience.
You know, I'll tell you, I struggle with this because I love playing my 45s, but I can't make it out, you know, the room without it stopping. And so something that's really interesting, one of my favorite musicians from Seattle, Lucky Brown, he said, I do everything in 45 because I want you to be present for the experience. So I thought that was an interesting take on it because you definitely have to be right there when you're doing the 45s.
Yeah, that's why I'll say that too. 45s for the experience, for you to just pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like cleaning the house or, you know, then the LP is good because you can get shit done.
You can't clean a house when you're playing 45s.
No.
Oh. All right. If you had a theme song, what would it be and why?
Theme song. I'm going to say there's this artist called Silla, and she has a song called David. And so David Silla, I would say that would be my theme song. It's Portuguese, bossa nova from the 60s. YouTube
I might know this record.
David, and it's a dope song.
Okay.
Man, I would say it goes back to my percussion days. There's a great group out of Cuba called Los Van Van, and there's a record they have called Te Pone la Cabeza Mala, which means crazy in the head. But just the groove on that thing is my theme song. Whenever that song comes on, I'm just like lifted. And about 10 years ago, they came from Cuba and I got to see them.
Wow.
And they opened the set with that song. So that is my theme song. Te Pone la Cabeza Mala by Los Van Van.
I love that. I love that. All right. Guilty pleasures. What's something that you listen to that we wouldn't expect?
I'm going to say, you know, people know, but I'm a huge classical music fan and soundtrack fan. I would say definitely in college, I had more classical LPs than I had funk LPs.
Wow.
I would just hit up the store and, you know, they're like 50 cents a dollar. You just walk away with these and you're like, oh, I like this piece. I'll just grab like 15 of these.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say guilty spot. If I ever see a John Barry kind of James Bond LP in a store, I'm game.
Okay.
For me, I would say the guilty pleasure is in two. One is obviously 80s music, specifically a band called Missing Persons was a big one for me. And then when I was in college in Texas, one of my roommates turned me on to screw music down in Houston, and I'd never heard anything like that. And I was just like, what the fuck is this?
It's different, right?
It's different, but, you know, when it comes on, I actually want to hear it. I remember Slim Thug was getting really big at that time.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I think I listened to a lot of Slim Thug. You know, and if I'm in that mood, it happens again.
Okay.
It'll pop up on the playlist. But 80s bands, Missing Persons.
In the car listening to Slim Thug?
It's probably not in the car because I look like such a poser, but it's definitely in the house.
Love that. Love that. Okay. Tell us any musician you'd love to collaborate with from the past, present, future, that kind of thing.
Ooh.
Big influence to me is Billy Martin, the drummer.
Okay.
Medeski Martin would definitely would be a dream to collaborate with him. I'm not sure what we would do because he's just he's just on another planet.
Sure.
But that would be for me, as Duffy knows, he's my number one influence.
Show him that tattoo.
It's from his
That's
drum book. I can't. The angle's bad.
Okay. Oh, I see the evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. Exclusive.
I think for me, it's pretty on the nose. I mean, both of them are still alive, but either Ivan Boogaloo Joe Jones, which I recently found out is still alive and living in New Jersey, or Dr. Lonnie Smith. Because obviously, you know, my love of soul jazz music and obviously starting the White Blinds, those are two pillars of people I covered in the beginning of the band. So
Yeah.
that would be it for me.
Tell us two musicians that you've been listening to a lot lately that you think we should check out. Could be new.
Could be new. I've been really into, and sort of goes with it's not really in the funk soul world, but the soundtrack to The White Lotus, that TV show.
Yeah, okay.
HBO. Dope soundtrack.
Okay.
Getting to that composer, he's pretty awesome.
Very good.
For me, it's an artist out of New Orleans, Louisiana, called Ife, led by a Black American who ended up in Puerto Rico and basically devoted his life to the Santeria religion. And in that process, he turned out how he could make that religious music in the pop world. So he has a couple records out, and he's basically taking Afro-Cuban folkloric music and made it electronic.
Oh.
And it's very interesting because the instruments are still played with your bare hands, but he's taped triggers on all the hand drums. And they instead of making the hand drum sound, they make electronic sounds. So
that seems busy.
You know what? To me, I listen to it every day. And the funny thing is his name is Oturamun. When he was not Oturamun, his name was Marcus Underwood. And Marcus Underwood and myself were bookends on a drum line in college, and didn't reconnect with him until about 4 years ago when a friend, Steve Haney from Jungle Fire, gave me the Ife EP. And I looked at the guy on the cover and I went, I know that dude. And we've reconnected. But yeah, his concept is I think everyone should take a listen to because it's super interesting.
Very cool. Okay, I'll definitely check that out. What's the last album or 45 you bought?
I think it was this Pharoah Sanders LP, Moonchild.
Oh, okay.
Very cool. Just spiritual jazz all the way. Just if you like Kachima and Daptone, you gotta hear Pharoah Sanders. That's the OG.
Okay. All right.
Taking us back, Dave. I love it. Taking us back. Giving us the roots. I'm going to say the last thing I bought was Billy Martin, Will Blades duo record, both a favorite of David and mine. It's been out for a while, but I finally got it. And if you love The White Blind, you'll love that record. But it's duo, so it's just organ and drums with David's favorite drummer, Mr. Billy Martin. And I highly recommend it. Will Blades is a Bay Area.
It's called like Shimmy, I think.
Shimmy, yeah. Shimmy, just Shimmy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I love it. I love it.
Awesome recommendations. I appreciate that. All right. If you were a superhero, what would your superhero power be and why?
I'm going to say, I don't know if this is a little selfish, but to be able to play every instrument perfectly with the sickest groove known to man.
I would echo that same sentiment. I'd like to be able to play whatever I want, whenever I want, however I wanted, and it be top level.
No flying, X-ray vision, anything like that?
No, man, because you know what? We're both musicians. Yeah, but there's this thing when we're sitting in the studio and you have this part in your head, or at least for me, and I can't express it in their language, you know? So I would like to be able to go, here, give it to me, let me show you what it is, and be able to just nail it.
Makes sense. Recommend 2 funk soul 45s that we should go check out. It could be new. It could be something that inspired you from any time during your collecting records. 2 45s we got to check out.
I'm going to say if people aren't hip to Philophone, that label out of Germany, Max from I guess he's known from Post Rhythm mainly. Check his label out. I just love, what he's doing. I would say the LP, I think it's Y Bayani and Nia and the Band of Enlightenment, I think it's called.
Okay.
It's just a great cross of reggae meets African meets funk.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check
I would
that
agree
out.
with that too, because it's the hippest thing that we're both. He turned me on to it, and we're both listening to it. You know what I mean?
It's
That's
like a
kind
book
of
club.
well, it's just the hippest thing right now because we're listening to it all together. It's
Right.
part of our vernacular for the bombillas.
And it's
You know what I
available
mean?
on fspotrecords.com. If people don't know, do rep
Plug
some
it.
other
Plug
labels. You go to the other labels page, and we got some good choice gems. People can shop.
I'm super happy that you guys made time to be here today. I want to just turn it over, allow you to say some any last words if you want.
Yeah, just thanks, Don, for having us. And I think for a lot of people, especially in F Spot, I don't get my face out there too much, so it's nice to have this platform to connect with some of the fans and audience and
Absolutely.
like-minded people. Yeah, just thank
Super
you
happy to have you for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's just great to be part of a community, and even though you're in Seattle and we're in Los Angeles, we're part of this great community.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting to get on here and talk about things and, and really share the behind the scenes stuff,
Yeah.
not only with just the bombillas, but, what most people don't know is David has a big handprint in what happens in the white blinds. He is my confidant when I'm not feeling something or, I'm at a moment. I've always got him at a phone call away to help me get through whatever as a band leader and as a, composer. My weakness is he always can fill the gap for me. So it's really great.
Yeah. Well, I'm always saying this. Oftentimes we see a label for a pre-order, but we just don't get what's below the tip of the iceberg. And again, I learned a lot tonight. I've done my research, but I still learn through you. So thank you so much for providing those insights, being here. It means a lot to me.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.
You too, Don.
Bye, everybody.
All right, cheers.
Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Waxvillain signing off. Take care.